Last time on a trial of thorns, and in case you've forgotten how cruel this court can be, 7 champions were summoned to Elarion, each hand-picked by the throne to compete for a crown that promised glory. They entered masked, bound by ritual, and told that merit alone would decide their fate. The lie began almost immediately. One champion never escaped the preliminary trial. Another was declared disqualified under circumstances too convenient to question. Replacements arrived with alarming speed, chosen not by divine will, but by patron influence, and the arena began to feel less like a proving ground and more like a marketplace. 17, who entered the trial under a borrowed identity and with retaliatory intent, survived the crawl, endured the Hall of Masks, and shattered a Chamber of Mirrors alongside Champion 5 of House Syrinth. In breaking the illusion, she exposed more than magic. She revealed a pattern the throne would rather keep buried. Her questions did not pass unnoticed. A patron confronted her publicly, and the Thornkeeper intervened. An arrangement was made granting her freedom to move through corridors others were forbidden to see. She began investigating the replacements, the disappearances, and the sealed proceedings no one was meant to examine. By the end of the last episode, only 6 champions remained, and one of them had whispered that houses were being reassigned behind the throne's back. And today, the arena answers. Now, let us begin. The arena was already full when 17 arrived, which meant whatever was about to happen had been planned long before the crowd could act as if it was shocked. The trial of sand sat under a pale sky that looked rinsed clean, as if the weather wanted plausible deniability. The stands rose in dark tiers, packed with patrons in their extravagant finery, with their masks gleaming like polished sins. They leaned forward with the same posture people used for sermons and executions, and this kingdom had always struggled to tell the difference. 17 took her place among the remaining champions, 6 of them now. Though the math refused to stay compliant, she felt the absence. Someone was missing and nobody was speaking about it, which was how Elarion handled anything inconvenient. She kept her breathing in check while her mind ran its inventory. Panic was a luxury reserved for people who expected mercy. The sand had been raked into clean lines overnight, which was almost funny in a place that loved blood. They had bothered to smooth the floor for a spectacle that would stain it again within minutes. Someone always cared about appearances more than outcomes. A herald stepped into the center of the arena and raised a staff capped with a thorned crest. His voice came through without strain. The court did not tolerate anything as messy as shouting. By decree of the crown, he announced, the trial convenes on the witness. The patrons replied with a low murmur that sounded like approval. 17 scanned the gallery, not the champions beside her. Champions were weapons and patrons were the hands. She searched for Lady Draven first, because she had been bold enough to corner her in a gallery with accusations. The woman sat high, draped in black velvet, the posture of someone who believed she owned consequences. Her mask was ornate, silver filigree over pale skin, and even from this distance, 17 could tell that her smile was already prepared. That was when the gates opened. Chains dragged over stone, and the sound snagged every conversation in the stands. A line of armored guards entered, and between them walked Champion 10 of House Draven. He did not look like a champion now. His armor had been stripped away, his ceremonial sash removed, and his wrists bound in iron that cut into the skin. His mask was gone too, and 17 realized that the court had decided he did not deserve anonymity for this part. They wanted a face for the guilt they were about to manufacture. He looked smaller without his costume, and not because he had changed, but because the games within the trial had gotten to him. 17's thoughts circled back to the day before, to his darting eyes and his careful words. He had whispered that someone was reassigning houses behind the throne's back, and he had spoken like a man who knew the difference between danger and doom. She had not liked him, but she had believed him, and now she watched him stumble in the sand as if belief had been a kind of betrayal. The herald stepped closer to the bound champion and unfurled a scroll. Alarion sure loved paperwork, even when it was signing someone's life away. Champion 10 of House Draven, the herald called, stands accused of subverting the sanctity of the trial. He is charged with unauthorized inquiry into sealed proceedings and conspiring to undermine the authority of the crown. 17 almost laughed behind her mask. The charges were so grand they sounded believable. Unauthorized inquiry, sealed proceedings, conspiring to undermine authority. The court had seized curiosity and treason. Champion 10 lifted his chin, and for a moment he looked like he might say something that mattered. He looked toward the gallery, toward the patrons who had once smiled at him as if he were a worthwhile investment. He looked toward Lady Draven, and 17 watched the woman's posture, waiting for outrage, protest, or even a flicker of discomfort. Lady Draven did not move. 17's gaze slid farther across the stands. Some patrons leaned forward in their eagerness. Some sat back, satisfied, as if the execution had solved a private inconvenience. One man in green and gold made the sign of the crown across his chest. Not in prayer, but in performance. A woman beside him dabbed at her lips as if she were watching theater. A new figure stepped into the arena, and the sand gathered under his boots as if it recognized him. The Thorn Keeper. His sigils were barely visible along his throat, like an insipid glow on the skin that looked made rather than born. He approached the herald, took the scroll without asking, and read the charges again, slowly, as if the words were worth repeating. 17 felt her own body respond in the smallest ways. She hated that her pulse quickened and her attention narrowed, because she knew he had built his reputation on noticing those things. He held the paper like a priest holding a prayer, and he looked up at Champion 10 as if he were deciding whether the man was a lesson or merely a mess. "Do you deny it?" the Thornkeeper asked. Champion 10 swallowed, and 17 saw the movement in his throat, like a small surrender. "I asked questions," he said, voice rough. "I asked questions because people are dying." The crowd murmured, and the sound was not sympathetic, but annoyance. The condemned was speaking out of turn, and the court disliked improvisation. The Thornkeeper's expression did not change, but his gaze wavered once toward 17. It was brief enough to be deniable, and pointed enough to be intentional. She understood the message. She was not new to warnings. This was what happened when you asked questions loudly. This was what happened when you asked questions where the wrong ears could hear them. It was also what happened when the throne needed a scapegoat and found one that already looked guilty. Questions, the Thornkeeper said, are not a crime in a righteous court. The patron stilled because the sentence sounded like heresy in this place. Then he continued, and the softness of his tone returned as if he had only meant to tease them with the possibility of decency. Which is why we will not call this justice, he said. It is procedure. The herald shifted uneasily but did not interrupt. No one interrupted the Thornkeeper. 17 watched Champion 10's face, looking for fear, rage, anything that might make his death feel like more than a transaction. What she saw instead was clarity, and that disturbed her more than panic would have. He had realized, finally, that the charges did not matter. The outcome had been written before he stepped through the gate. The Thornkeeper lifted a hand. From the rim of the arena, an executioner approached. He was not masked either, which was another little cruelty. The throne did not want the blade anonymous. They wanted everyone to remember that a person had done this, under orders, and would do it again. The executioner carried a ceremonial sword, long with thorns incised along the fuller. He stopped behind Champion 10 and the guards forced the man's shoulders down until his knees hit the sand. 17's stomach tightened as she watched the crowd and the patrons. She watched Lady Draven, who remained still as the champion of her house was about to be executed, and she watched the other champions beside her, who had all gone quiet in the particular way predators do when a larger predator enters the room. The executioner raised the sword. Champion 10 turned his head, just enough to look toward the champions, and his eyes landed on 17 with the heft of unfinished conversation. "Whatever you're doing," he rasped, "do it faster." 17 did not nod. Nodding was a promise, and promises were dangerous. She held his gaze anyway. Refusing to look was what the court wanted. The court wanted them trained into numbness. The blade came down. There was no clever flourish or graceful mercy. The sword bit through flesh and bone with a sound that was both wet and final.
From gilded shadows. Behind its walls of velvet red, sacred schooling around each thread, candles color its silent walls, whispers echo through modern walls.
The head separated cleanly enough for the crowd to pretend it was dignified, and the body jerked once before collapsing forward. Blood poured into the sand in a thick rush, darkening the carefully raked lines until they looked like a child's drawing, smeared by impatient hands. The head rolled, and the maskless face stared blankly at the sky as if waiting for an explanation that would never be offered. The crowd roared in exhilaration. 17 felt a sour disgust rise in her throat and swallowed it down. The arena did not deserve proof that she was still human. The patrons clapped. Some stood. One man laughed like he had been entertained. And 17 thought, with a quiet fury, that the kingdom did not deserve the word entertainment if this was what it meant by it. The executioner stepped back. The guards did not move to cover the body. There would be no dignity after death either. The body was part of the decor now. The herald raised his staff again, and his voice rang out with the poise of someone reading from a script he already knew by heart. By decree of the crown, he announced, a replacement champion has been selected. 17's attention snapped hard to the arena gate. The timing was obscene. There was no pause for air, ritual, or just a moment for the body to finish collapsing into itself. The gates opened. A new champion stepped through, already masked and dressed in armor that fit like it had been tailored weeks ago. Their gait was smooth, their posture was composed, and their hands were empty. The message was in the entrance itself. Replacement before mourning, acknowledgement, and before the blood had even finished soaking into the sand. The new champion walked forward while Champion 10's body was still slumping, and for a flicker of time, the replacement's boots were close enough to the corpse that 17 wondered if the cut would make them step over it. The arena loved symbolism and reminders. It loved telling you that you were replaceable without bothering to say the words out loud. The new champion stopped at the center mark, bowed toward the gallery, then turned slightly, letting the crowd see the mask. The mask was angular, elegant, and unfamiliar, which made 17's mind begin its work immediately. Not one of the 12 invited great houses, not one of the names that had once mattered. A lesser house then, one that had bought its way into the trial through a convenient vacancy. 17's thoughts focused, and she began to count all over again. It was the only form of control she could afford. House Treven had been removed without fuss. Someone benefited and paid, and had planned this far enough ahead that the replacement was waiting behind the gate before the sentence was read, which meant the throne did not need to prove guilt. It only needed to create a vacancy. 17 looked back up at the gallery. Lady Draven's mask gleamed. Her posture had loosened just slightly, as if a knot had been removed. She lifted her hand and clapped once slowly, and 17 understood that the patron had not lost a champion, but traded one. 17 turned her gaze toward the Thornkeeper. He was watching too. He stood beside the herald, hands folded, calm as stone, his eyes on the new champion like he was reviewing a book he had already finished. 17's mind began to thread the worst possibilities together, because that was what it did when faced with silence. Had he known? Had he sanctioned it? Had he allowed it to happen because it served the court's order? Or had he been trapped inside the same machinery, forced to keep procedure moving because that was what kept the kingdom from cracking? She had no proof, only instinct, and that in this place was a knife that cut both ways. The new champion lifted their chin and looked across the arena, scanning the remaining champions as if memorizing them. The mask turned towards 17, and for a moment, she felt the sensation of being measured, the way patrons assessed horses before purchase. 17's mouth curved, unseen beneath her mask. If the court wanted her afraid, it had chosen the wrong tactic. Fear made people run. Disgust made people stay and burn things down. She looked once more at the head in the sand, at the eyes that no longer saw, and let the lesson settle where it belonged. Alarion was a void that consumed champions and produced replacements with market-like efficiency. She inhaled slowly, tasting the blood in the air, the incense beneath it, and the kingdom's decay. Then she smiled, because she finally understood the pattern well enough to break it. If the throne sought to punish inquiry, then she would make it the most dangerous thing in the arena. The body finished collapsing, and the replacement shadow stretched across it like an autograph. 17 kept her posture relaxed. A predator never rushed when the prey was already cornered. Her thoughts were clear, her plan already forming, and above her the patriots clapped, delighted by their own cruelty, unaware the spectacle had just given her the clearest clue since she entered Alarion. The sand has not yet settled, and already the game is in flux. A champion has fallen under the charge of treason for asking the wrong questions, and a replacement has stepped forward before the body finished collapsing.
As evening thins, blood and silk entwine the night, mercy hidden from mortal sight. Under the throne of ash and bone, no soul escapes the silent stone. Feel the darkness clean your plea, you won't survive its revelry.
Next time on A Trial of Thorns, 17 follows the bloodline of influence behind the newest arrival and discovers that the throne may not be the only power creating the trial. As alliances tighten and suspicion spreads among the remaining champions, the line between execution and strategy grows thin. The court believes it has silenced inquiry, but it has only strengthened it. Stay tuned